Greetings from dire straits, unavoidably sailing into stormy seas. I've played through this game a whopping 3 times. Each and every one of those times was very, very long. For this Q&A, I would just go back and download all those videos to give you some perspective, some way to compare things. But at the time of speaking, I don't have that much time right now. So this Q&A will come with the visual perspective of 1 playthrough, but the spoken perspective of 3. When you start this game, you have a variety of difficulty levels to choose from. I don't know about easy, but when you beat the game on normal, you unlock the gauntlet. Here you have 15 minutes to delete every virus and make it to the end. Well, every virus and a mini-boss. Your character is a preset Drizzt Do'Urden. That is, you cannot choose which character you go into the gauntlet with. Believe it or not, it's a fair shot. You just need to understand how to go through each room. I don't know what happens when you don't save, but when you successfully delete every virus and make it out the door, because it won't let you out beforehand, saving on your way out, by the way, you will unlock Extreme Mode. Normal and Extreme were the longest playthroughs. That is because, in both of these cases, you start out empty-handed. You are given a knife to go through with. This is because you have to start with some sort of weapon. In Hard Mode, you can import characters. That is why that playthrough was blazing fast. If you don't know the controls, there is a tutorial waiting for you. And because the tutorial won't tell you everything, you get a one-time prompt telling you how to do other things, like how to quickly recov both HP and MP. You have 3 characters to choose from: a human who works best with long-range weapons, an elven magician, and a dwarven warrior. Who you choose determines what skills you get to start out with, and therefore level up as you go along. So in the case of magician, you get to choose the ability to start out and level up a bunch of spells. In the case of a dwarven warrior, which I chose, I get skills related to attack and defense. This means for the entirety of those 3 playthroughs, I did not need to use magic even once. Not at all. I chose to go straight up. Every character has their strengths and weaknesses. I dealt with mine. The story starts out when your character of choice enters Baldur's Gate, directly through the front gate. All's well and fine when you get jumped and mugged. In front of the guards. Because the guards reacted soon enough anyway, you don't get killed. Instead, you get robbed for every penny you have. This leaves you starting off the Elsong Tavern where it's already decided to strike a deal with you. There has been a rat infestation in the cellars. She believes it due to gang activity in the sewers, dragging rats up from the sewer, but beside the point. If you clear out enough rats, i.e. everything in the cellar, she will give you enough gold to get you back on your feet. She then points you to Ethon, who has a key to the cellar and a weapon to help you out. Immediately here is a shopkeeper. Does what he says on the label. He even has good sales pitches.
Oh, friend. I think the smell of the sewers has taken a liking to you. I heard of your battle in the Thieves Guild, friend. You may have saved all of Baldur's Gate from that beholder. Please, my shop is yours. Be sure to tell everyone you meet you buy weapons from my store.
Also here is a drunkard. Understandably, Aelith cut him off a few days ago. If you start his quest line to find a bottle, it will appear somewhere in the cellar. Do this, and he gives you a recov item in return. When you clear all the rats out of the cellar, you'll be given a key to enter the sewer. When you finish up this quest line, you'll be told you can use a recall potion to recall yourself back to the tavern. Recall in this case meaning teleport. But something's amiss. She gives you the key but tells you that Ethan has run. And so, lo and behold, into the sewers, not only to chase down the thieves who mugged you, but to maybe find Ethan somewhere along the way. Of particular interest, not the puzzles, but this one room in particular, a hidden room, to which the switch to open it was right in front of me. I had no idea about this. Also of particular interest, again, not the puzzles, but this formation of viruses. In hard mode, I didn't have to worry about any of this. This is because I imported a ripped character and basically mowed the lawn. However, in normal and extreme, the case was different. There are these boxes lying around, these very large boxes. Prepare for the long game. Push one of these boxes over to either side of the formation. That's right, you've got yourself a shield. Patiently delete the viruses one or two at a time, then wait for your health to recover. This will happen in some ways throughout these sewers. Just know that this iteration right here is the worst of it. Discount Shao Kahn's. What, don't believe me?
I'll kill you if I have to.
Round one. Fight!
When you dig deep into the sewers, Ethan will overhear a conversation. Specifically, with the help of all these kobold viruses running around, the king of Shao Kahn's has captured him. This set aside, someone is carrying an orb, a sphere, and that they're taken to the crypts and place it at what is assumed to be the center or the deepest part of it. Speaking of which, there is one thing to be aware of when going into the crypts. Buy a mace. Doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as it says mace. Why? I'll tell you why. Skeletons. These viruses will take half the damage of any weapon you use, no matter what weapon it is. Except for maces. I wouldn't have known any better the first two times around, but I found out the hard way when, lo and behold, we had to destroy the orb that was placed down there. I spent hours, trying to delete this orb because I didn't have the right weapon going in. Something I wish I knew the first two times around. I simply didn't notice. I didn't notice especially the first time around, or I did but probably didn't notice, that the mace I had was the reason these skeletons were going down so fast. So take it as a lesson learned from me. When you go into the crypts, carry a mace. End of story. Make it a strong one if feasible and affordable, but one nonetheless. If you return from the sewers before this point, Aelith will reward you, and both she and Ethan will thank you. the latter feeling understandably foolish about it. During your travel in the crypts, two more people will show up in the tavern. The first is a man who sought to enter the crypts in order to retrieve a medallion left behind by his predecessor, his brother.
Ah, sad tale, friend. My heart goes out to you. It seems Baldur's Gate has not been treating its visitors well of late. I, too, am a stranger here. Well, I came to pay my respects at the Shrine of Suffering, the local temple run by the priests of Ilmater. But I came to find the temple sealed, and no one answered my summons. I had a terrible feeling that something was wrong inside, but I did not know what. My brother's bones lie within the crypts beneath the shrine. I'd hoped to pay my respects at his grave and take back with me his medallion that had been buried with him. It was always his intention that it be passed on through our family, and now that I have a little one of my own, I wish my child to have the medallion. But now I do not know what to do, so I sit here, drink, and wait for the shrine to awake.
The second is a woman, someone understandably depressed. Turns out she has a husband who's a necromancer, and his employer was apparently offering him a whole lot of money to get involved with an orb of some kind. They had decided that, should trouble arise, they would meet up back at the tavern 3 days ago. See where this is going yet? Guess who her husband was? Guess what he was carrying? I don't think he got paid. Should you return the medallion to the man, he will give you the most helpful and ironic thing you could ever ask for during your time spent in the crypts. Yep, a mace. After destroying what her husband had brought down there, should you inform her, the woman will give you the ring they were supposed to share. After all this, Ethon will tell you about one of his close contacts. This man is named Jarek. He heads a group of warriors called the Harpers. As he says, and so after finding out that not only did you rescue Ethon from the sewers, but you most recently destroyed an orb that was sowing chaos, of course he wants you on his team. And naturally, accepting is the only way to continue. Did I forget to mention that you also pick up a key off that guy? In joining Jarek's Harpers, you will hand over the key, only to find out it is in fact enchanted. But that being so close to the orb, the enchantment was disrupted. With relative ease and 0 VFX, Jarek gives the enchantment on the key. He then tells you where to go looking for the entrance to the secret base. For anyone who doesn't know, well, first, when you get far enough, there are shortcuts you can use from the sewers back up to town and therefore back over to the tavern. This, combined with recall potions, means you don't have to trek all the way back. Because who the hell would want that? More importantly and back on point, the entrance to the secret base is right next to Ethon's former cell. Inside, you'll no longer be fighting rats or kobolds, but instead, all rejected auditioners for Human Shrek. In entering the Thieves Guild, yet another troubled patron at the tavern. This one's simple. On the way to Baldur's Gate, she and her group got jumped. Of particular interest, they yanked a box of spices. Oh, hey, it's the guy who jumped me as soon as I got here. If you go back to the tavern soon enough, that is, if you don't ask at the beginning of the game, you can ask Aelith about what the hell is hanging over the fireplace. Apparently a downsized and stuffed version of the real thing, the source of all our problems here in Baldur's Gate, the second most powerful magician in the game, and your PS2 save icon, a beholder. Meanwhile, the deepest parts of the Thieves Guild...
What is it now, Khan? My lord, he's almost here. I beg your pardon. My lord, the person we failed to kill this morning, he's almost here. What should we do? Raise the eye traps he purchased from Bowser and Ganon. The same traps designed to kill anything it gazes upon. dare I ask, Khan? The eye traps were not enough. No matter. A two-part defense this time. What do you mean, my lord? Platforms that will land shortly after being landed upon. But these platforms are one-ways. That is, the same way anyone would make it here past those platforms is most certainly not the same way they'd go back. So you aren't worried about them making it over here to you, my lord? No, Khan. See the gate standing directly behind me? For this intruder in particular, it is a one-way. So even if they were to find me, and even defeat me, with no way to make it back to the surface, they will be unable to recuperate and restock. So they will be forced to walk through this portal, severely weakened and unprepared. All of that sounds promising, my lord. But what if by off chance they could teleport? Cross your fingers.
As Xanta would proceed to hint, he is not quite the last of your problems. But beside the point. As a human or archer, you would know only how to stand as far away from him as possible. Believe it or not, this is the only reason he would cast spells. You heard me. For all his ferocious spells and fantastic powers, I'm the only one I can name who has seen what happens when you actually get in his face. For one, he stops casting spells. For another, basically, you can whittle him down. Deleting him tells you more of the story. As Dirk would proceed to explain, he was floating in front of a portal, and next to a map.
You have accomplished far more than I could have hoped. Truly, the Harpers are blessed to have you among our number. You have my thanks, and the thanks of all of Baldur's Gate. These maps on the wall. Baldur's Gate, the Sunset Mountains, the Marsh of Kalimba. It is as I feared. The evil that has risen in Baldur's Gate is only part of a greater evil. These three locations are tied, though I know not how. Oh, this gate worries me. This beholder and his legions were able to use it to enter Baldur's Gate without being detected. It seems this gate is tied to the Sunset Mountains. A further cause for worry. We've heard strange rumors from the Sunset Mountains over the past few weeks, but the agent we sent to investigate the rumors has not returned. I now fear for his life. Please, I must ask you to head through the gate and see what has happened in the Sunset Mountains. Other creatures may have arrived there, and if so, we must know their strength before taking action. You have already accomplished much, and we are grateful. Please, here is some gold and items that may aid you on your mission. Use them wisely. I must go and tell the dukes of the city what has been discovered here. Please rest and prepare yourself before heading through the gate. There's no telling what waits on the other side.
This map links three areas together. Baldur's Gate, where we currently are, the Sunset Mountains, where the gate leads, and the Marsh of Chalimber. With this, Jared concludes the following. Those two areas are just as troubled. If you stay here, those troubles will only come back. Therefore, go through the portal, find out what's happening in the Sunset Mountains, and then do the same for the Marsh of Chalimber. Much worse, he sent an agent to the Sunset Mountains to investigate. What he heard raised his eyebrows, but weeks have passed since the last contact, and seeing what has just been unraveled in the sewers, which definitely tells what's happening above for miles, gives him every understandable reason to fear for the guy's life. The Wind's Walk is nothing special, just hordes and hordes of viruses, with the occasional big guy anyway. But when you get to the mine camp, you will unknowingly begin what I could only describe as the most depressing part of this entire story. Depending on your race, Torgir will speak to you differently. Not important though. When you tell him you're coming to investigate any disturbances, he opens up and begins divulging.
Remains of our clan. We were forced to fall back when a patrol of dark elves invaded our mines. Scores of us fell beneath their poison blades, and they knew when and how to strike us. We were forced to collapse all exit tunnels, save one, and regroup here on the surface. Now only a handful of us remain. Turn back from here, brother. The mines are closed, and there's nothing for you here. Getting back into the mines is the second of our troubles. Our leader Colgrim took the key for the mine entrance with him when he and 3 of our clan went to climb Burning Eye, that peak in the distance. They seek to light the signal fire atop Burning Eye and summon our brothers from Easting. Trouble is, it's been near a day and a half, and I've seen no signal fire from the top of the peak. I fear they may have been ambushed on the way there. Without the signal fire, we can expect no aid from the nearby towns. And without the key, we cannot even re-enter the mines to try and take it back from the drow. The gate to the mines was sealed with our Key of Dumathon. No ordinary key. Merely touching it to our gate causes the cracks and spaces of the gate to become solid stone. Not even a battering ram could break the gate now. It keeps us from entering, but at least it keeps the drow trapped in the mines. For now. I wish you luck. And may Clongadid's twin axes bury themselves in your enemies.
First, everyone you see in the mine camp are the last of the clan. There's an entrance to the mine full of elves that wipe them out on the way in, forcing the dwarves to escape and collapse all but the visible exit itself. It is sealed by a key whose magic fills every crack and crevice of the door with solid rock, such that not even a battering ram could break it down. This also means the same device has to unlock it, but that after the elves rain down fire and brimstone upon them, the key ran up the mountain with the expedition team to light a signal fire for help. A day and a half ago. When you climb up the mountain, inside an ice cave, you will learn that its leader does not have the key, but that, meanwhile, rather than the viruses, they were jumped by an ice dragon on the way up. And so, he tries to warn you to warn everyone about the Dark Elves, to which you'll explain to him you already plan to go into the mines to solve that problem. To help get the key, he in exchange wants the signal fire lit. Understandably, he gives you an oil can to take on the way out. Do not leave this oil can on the way out. I have in fact run into some who have left the oil can behind. He does not directly give it to you. He leaves it on the ground for you. I know how that sounds, just bear with me. Pick it up on the way out. You will climb the base and make your way up to the peak. There are 2 paths you need to check. Do not climb up to the summit yet. West and east, you will find a specific dead body with a piece of the puzzle, specifically the lighter and tinder. West, you will find a dead body in a cave. East, it will be lying on the ground. I know, I expect it to be in a cave too. When you have all 3 of these pieces, that is, the tinder, the fire, and the oil can itself, you now have a reason to climb the summit. On the way up, you will find out Raiden left some of his static orbs behind. Alone, they don't do much. Combined, they hurt. Even even on extreme. When you light the fire, you'll free the key, but then you'll also wake up the ice dragon, which will proceed to skip you to the next cave over. Explain as much to Colrin,
I saw
and he'll
the
just
signal fire
let you
alight
into the
upon
cave.
the slopes, and you have brought the key. But tell me, did any of the dwarves from the expedition survive? More deaths our enemies shall answer for. You have done enough, brother. No need for you to risk yourself for the clan any longer. Very well, then. I'll not argue with one with fire in the eyes such as you. Simply hold the key in your left hand as you approach the gate. Then, push it into the stone door. It should melt inside, and the door will open itself. Luck be with you.
Level 1 has 5 gears that are needed to operate the elevator. In effect, you must scour every corner of this level of the mines. The second level is a little more lenient. You don't have to go looking for anything. As you might have noticed if you check my videos, I spared almost no virus. When you reach the final level of the mines, you'll be met with what I like to call Hercules beetles. I learned this one from the gauntlet. Take them on one at a time, block, and tap. If you swing and you miss, block anyway. On every difficulty level, they hit hard. This elf, which they found from getting my video age restricted, proceeds to tell you that they only care about the mines, that they indeed attack dwarves on the surface, But the mines are all that matter to her, because they who paid her and the elves promised everything to everyone else. And then proceeds to raise an eyebrow to the fact that you don't really know who your enemy is. You traveled a long way, but you don't know who hell's waiting for you at the end of the road.
Sunset Mountains, or your filthy surface cities. Those have been promised to others, and they may have them. Can it be that you've come all this way without knowing your enemy? Then it is ignorance that has made you brave. You will soon choke on your own screams, intruder, and then I shall offer up your body to Lolth.
This elf is the exact strongest magician in the game. She takes the role of both Xanten and the Orb. What I mean is, not only is she a magician, she is also a necromancer. Do not underestimate her. Take out the viruses before her. In fact, just in case, take out the viruses surrounding her before you even speak to her. If you follow what I did in the video, linked in the description, you should have few problems if you're a dwarf. If you're a human or elf, I don't know this for sure, but yeah, basically just stay as far away from her as possible. Deleting the elf will give you a horn with a key attached to it. The key is for the cell belonging to the Harper, sent it from Baldur's Gate. As he'll confirm and proceed to explain, he exchanged with Jarg from here, telling him crap was going wrong when he saw organized viruses. Then in came the elves, who, again, came down the dwarves like a hailstorm on glass. So the remaining dwarves split, but then in came the dragon just before his capture. From behind his cell, he learned they planned to kill the remaining dwarves on the surface, just so that passerby viruses wouldn't get wiped out on the way through. Finally, he knows about a gate, but it's not the same gate he came through. Instead, it leads to the Marsh of Chilimber. He marks on your map, or should I say, allows you to go through the forest that you would otherwise need the map for, and simply suggests that the Marsh of Chilimber might be your final stop.
Who are you? I am Brogan. Tell me, are you of the Harpers? I was their eyes in the Sunset Mountains. There was something stirring within the mountains, organizing the gnolls, the ogres. Then the dragon appeared. I know little, but the fact that dark elves are working with them is a cause for worry. Whatever leads this army, it must be powerful to have such troops as allies. I heard the Drow speak often of their plans. Their goal was to exterminate the dwarven settlement here, in order to protect the movements of the gnolls and ogres in the mountains. In exchange for their help, they were promised the mines, and all within it. Aye, though I know not why, they care nothing for the gnolls and ogres. A gate. I heard the Drow speak of a gate, but it led to the Marsh of Chilimber, not Baldur's Gate. I had been searching for the source of the troubles in the region when the Drow struck the mines. If my hunch proves true, then the gate to the marsh may lie within an ice cave within the mountains. I will mark it on your map. Finding your way to it may prove to be a trick, but you should be able to reach the cave from the mining camp. Now, the cave itself is sealed with a great sheet of ice, though I think the Drow priestess made mention of some horn she used to enter the cave. If these gates are the work of the creature behind these attacks, then ye must travel to the Marsh of Chilimber and find out the nature of this threat. I fear you're right, friend. I fear you're right. Well, let us squander no more time talking of it. Find the gate and take the battle to the beast that's stalking us.
On the way up, when you speak to Torgir, he will thank you and pay you. Specifically, he will thank you for wiping out the elves in the mines, so that he and his clan could breathe a sigh of relief.
Argandin has
But
truly
upon telling them
blessed
about
us this
Brogan,
day.
he will cheer that
Yet
he is
a river
alive,
star
and then admit that Brogan
fortunes
told him about an
we
ice cave
shall
north of
never
here,
forget.
but they didn't think it was
Have
the
this,
troubles he was
and
experiencing
with
on the
it-
ground level here.
Oh, you have the thanks of the Brunger clan as well. Brogan's alive! Thrice blessed are we! An ice cave, eh? I've heard something of it from Brogan before, but I didn't think it linked to our troubles. If you go searching for it, be careful. More dangerous beasts than wolves and yeti lair on this mountain.
Innocent was going up to the mountain. No, you gotta mow down more viruses first. They don't warn you, but this entry point is a one-way. Not only can you not teleport from the room inside of it, you can't walk out once you walk back in. Beware. That is why they put the save point right there. Treat it like it's SMT, and save everywhere you can. Which I know is a little late for me to say. Wondering why I put an ice dragon in here? It's because half of its attacks are the roof collapsing on you. In some cases, some of these chests will contain weapons. So naturally, when I died to this dragon a few times the first time in particular, I was really upset because of the weapons it gave at the time. I wanted those weapons, and now I was never going to get them back. Basically, dying rerolls what's in the chests. The viruses out here are special. So aside the skeletons, the chapel being the last time you'll see them by the way, don't worry. When the zombies die, they leave behind poison gas. Oh, this is also late. Sometimes chests will contain bombs, so you'll notice that on hard and extreme, I would open a chest and immediately run away out of habit, because I died one too many times to bombs being inside of chests. Meet Slavis. You have to speak to him before you can go further anyway. He has an entire vast plot dump waiting for you, which only amounts to, in the distant past, humans upset the land, so the land sunk stuff beneath it. He finds weapons sunken below, and of course, he needs to turn a profit, so he sells them to you. At increasingly high prices, by the way. Back to current day, there's a giant onyx tower in the center of this marsh, and he wants your help in getting rid of it, the first step of which is going through his entire tribe. That's right, it's time for lizard genocide. If you ask him, he will tell you just how stupid Sesseth is. What you'll find out when you get there is, he is the strongest warrior in the game. Without the right armor, one tap and you're basically dead. The first 2 times around, I would do what everyone else did. Run out of there, and go to the grid work that is this room. I would then proceed to run around, try to hit him, and run back before he hits me. The first time, I barely got out of there doing that. The second time around, I found out I could cheese it if I made him clip on a specific catapult, to which, again, I had no shame. This time around, things were a little different. I wasn't up for running around, so instead, I used the fact that he needs to face you before hitting you. And so we were basically playing Ring Around Rosie, except microscopic scale. I needed a few tries, but it worked. You could go back and speak to Slavis, but nothing's really stopping you from going on past the throne. If you do speak to him to ask, he'll proceed to explain your next stop is indeed the rotting bog. That somewhere deep within that rotting bog is the reason it is rotting. The water stair, because it is pulling water up from the land into itself, thereby leaving things to rot. On hard mode, I can beat these creatures down very easily, including the big one. On normal and extreme, I don't waste my time. I tried on just one just to see, and I was right. You could delete them, but it takes a lot more resources than is worth. So when you reach them, just run like crazy. The water stair. It took notes from Narnia and gave us these creatures. Horned lions. That make a weird sound when they charge you. When you get far into the water stair, or should I say, when you reach a specific point, you will find Slavis is standing there waiting for you. Who knows how? I don't ask questions. He will compliment you on how strong you are, and that anything that stands in your way soon finds themselves lying dead behind. Meanwhile, standing next to him is a portal to the world of water, a world where everything is water. As he explained when you first met, the Onyx Tower has no gate, no entrance on the outside, only the inside. And so the idea is to give you the ability to breathe water for a short period of time, such that you can jump in through the gate here and exit the gate in the Onyx Tower, and that knowing how shortly the magic will last, his magic will guide you through that portal. You don't need to worry about any of those details. As soon as you jump in, you're in the tower. What he doesn't tell you is that, as soon as you enter the tower, you cannot escape it by any means. That is, besides the portal, you cannot even teleport your way out. Translation? End of the world. The first time around, the tower would widely and vastly serve as a treasure trove. It would give you weapons left, right, and center. Set aside the fact that it also gives you arrows and potions, because it knows you can't escape it, it would give you wonderful weapons. And so the first time around, I stood in awe, as I got all these powerful weapons that in some cases topped whatever the hell everyone was trying to sell me. The second time around, I was underwhelmed. The third time around, I just wasn't surprised anymore. That is because, on hard and extreme, to my current knowledge, you having really strong weapons means all you would really need is recovs and ammo. This third time around, I made the mistake of failing to buy enough potions before going in, and I had already saved, so I had to conserve a little as I went along. On all 3 difficulty levels, these gargoyles hit hard. Alone, they're not too bad. In groups of 2 or more though, they are terrifying. The second and third times around, I found myself with so many amulets, I had to leave most of them in one spot. All 3 times, at some point, for the first time in my life, I found out I was carrying the maximum amount of stuff I could carry. So that first time, and in some cases the second, I had to look at what was on the side, what was I going to keep, and what was I going to drop. This final time, I acted with organization in this manner. On one floor, I would leave behind a bunch of amulets. On another, a bunch of weapons. But I did this because, unlike the last 2 times, these flaming viruses were really hard to delete. I basically concluded that they weren't the effort. Welcome to the Hall of Remembrance, where doors are for squares. Thankfully, we don't need them here. You have to speak to Caledon before you're allowed to continue. If you ask him, he will plot dump. The person waiting for you outside is Eldrith. He is the first commander of what was formerly the Company of the Westering Sun. All was well until Eldrith disobeyed the Dukes of Baldur's Gate and got into a fight she really didn't need to. As such, Baldur's Gate denied her entry. But then it got even worse. All the ghosts in here are also members of the Company of the Westering Sun. She got into another fight she shouldn't have, and this time regretted it. See, when you back a snake into a corner, it bites. The group they attacked bit them harder than they could come back from, and so wiped out the remainder of the Company of the Westering Sun. Eldred in particular, who was a skilled sword person, was killed from afar because people were smarter than that. But when she died, she immediately came back to life. You know, because this world has magic. She rose, and with it, the Onyx Tower. Which reminds me, one level below the Hall of Remembrance, i.e. where all the flaming viruses are, is an Iron Giant. You will meet this mini-boss, barring the path to the Hall of Remembrance. If you're quick enough, you can escape it. But if you delete it, it will always drop the Onyx Sword, unless you're using an imported character who already has it. On your way up to fight Eldrith, if you ask Caledon, he will hint to you that this tower being part of her will, if you carry part of it up to her, you may be able to harm her with it, which translates to the Onyx Sword is the only thing you can use to attack her directly. The first 2 times, I didn't really need to think. The first 2 times, I was OP. I was utterly surprised by this. The third time, however, I was in for a painful surprise. When you are far away enough, she will throw her sword at you. When you are close enough, she will combo strike you or otherwise directly attack you in a number of ways, all of which are lethal. So what's the idea? See the black tiles on the ground? See how evenly spaced they are? I use them as a unit of measurement. I discovered that she will throw her sword at you from just about the distance of a little more than 2 of these tiles. So I tried very hard to use that to my advantage. As soon as she threw her sword, I would run in and take a swing at her. Hit or miss, I would run back, because a shield isn't defense enough against her direct attacks. When she checkpoint evolves, things surprisingly get a little easier. That is to say, her volleys shorten. She still throws her sword, but the shorter volleys are overall survivable. I mean, more so than Form 1. Then comes Form 3. At this point, she stops throwing her sword at you, and decides to use Sword Storm instead. The lightning tells you where they're going to land. She will still try to stomp you, but the volleys are basically all but gone. I did a poor job of explaining that, didn't I? Here, have the winning attempt as the end to this Q&A, to which I'm going to answer a rumor right now. I heard around that if you beat the game on Extreme, you would get Eldrit's sword, but this was hearsay. The only thing I earned from this was the ability to import Drizzt Jordan into a file of my choice, as it wouldn't allow you to do this before you beat Extreme. So I dug around and found nothing mentioning the idea of earning Eldrit's sword. To this, I am mad, but to the fact that I can now and finally use Drizzt Jordan in any file I want, I couldn't be any more satisfied. Just know that playthrough is not happening anytime soon. So, can you earn Eldrit's sword? To my current knowledge, no.
to pass that I shall die twice. And this second time shall be the last. The tower will not hold. You must leave this place. I ask your forgiveness. I let anger cloud my vision. I harmed those who had sworn to serve me. In all these things, great harm has been done. Let Baldur's Gate have its peace. I shall not rise again to challenge it, though it will doubtless need others such as you to defend it from others that wish it harm. Now, leave me to die. This tower shall be my tomb.
In the flash of the portal's light, Eldrith's tower was no more. Lightning rained upon the tower, and flames as if from within. And thus, in a storm of fire and lightning, Eldrith died her second death. But it was all part of a much larger design.
It is done. Eldrith is undone. And her threat to us and our plans has been ended. And the Harper that defeated her, killed. Now we may continue without interference, Master.
Where did the portal lead? It led to a far distant land, far from Baldur's Gate, far from the Sunset Mountains, far from the Marsh of Chalimber, and far from safety. But that is a tale for another time.
Have you taken care? Well, I'd prefer you get to it before they change the...